All right, all right, all right. Welcome in Toilets to Titles. This is episode number 171. We inch ever so much more closely to episode 200, which is absolutely bananas if you factor in all of the other things we've done. If you're a new listener to Toilets to Titles, or if you're an old listener to Toilets to Titles, we have been around for 3 years now. We have tons of different content. We've done tons of different bonus content, bathroom breaks, team breakdowns, fun day draft show. So episode 171, we're probably well over 200, I would say, but together, you were gone for a few weeks there, but I've had a few episodes where I've been gone as well, but like the band's back together. My guy Justin's here at JustinFF_. Again, we're inching closer to episode 200. Justin, how you doing this evening, my guy?
I'm doing all right. Senior pictures tonight for my high schooler. So yeah, a little bit bittersweet watching him grow up and getting his pictures with his girlfriend, and we went to a nice lunch. But I got to tell you, man, I'm getting wore out. Just that one day long trip, getting senior pictures, man. Whew, I'm ready to
It's a
retire.
day-long trip to get senior pictures.
Yeah, we kind of made it a day out of it, but yeah, we went all over our little town of Knightstown, just north of here, actually. But yeah, so we got some nice nature scenes. We got some nice scenes in a back alley and some other stuff. The Hoosier Gym, where the movie Hoosiers was
Oh,
recorded.
get out,
Got some pictures there. So yeah,
man. So I don't want to sound like a jerk. All right. And this is strictly based upon, I'm just going to be honest, strictly based upon how you described your hometown. Like you have to drive to the post office to get the mail, right?
yes,
So I'm going to put that out there. So listeners at home, I'm not judgmental. I'm not cruel. Justin's told me about his hometown. He's also around him, the famous casket lid story. He was driving in the backwoods of Indianapolis or Indiana, and he found a casket lid on the side of the road. So some things have happened around him. He's a little bit in the backwoods, and he's far enough from a post office that he can't get mail. He has to drive there. So that being said, when you talked about your son seeing your pictures, I envisioned like Napoleon Dynamite, like you've seen Napoleon Dynamite.
oh yeah, oh
You
yeah,
know the girl who does like the pictures for Uncle Rico and
yeah,
Napoleon.
yeah, yeah.
That's how I envisioned like senior pictures for the high school your son attends.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're not too far off from that. But yeah, no, I mean, it wasn't in our hometown. This little town just north of us. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. D, now it was actually braided. This is just a small little rat tail now, but it was braided last week. If you want to go back and watch,
Can we braid it for next week?
I don't know about that.
Who
It's
braids it?
it was actually my barber. I had told her that I did not want it braided yet because it wasn't really ready. It wasn't to that point. But she was a big fan of the TV show Vikings. When I showed her the picture, she knew exactly who Ragnar Lothbrok was. And so when she started braiding it, I was like, I thought I said I didn't really want it braided, and she said, you have to let me have this. And I was like, all right, go ahead.
There.
So that's why it was graded last week. It's probably going to be another month or two before it's long enough to.
And what was the barbershop?
Gents Barber Shop, Greenfield, Indiana.
All right, so we need to get you back there so you can get your hair braided again because I think it's mandatory. I think it's sick. It's super sweet. I might start throwing some braids in my hair just
Yeah,
so we can, like, and surprise the listener if they're into that. I mean, we had one comment so far. Well, we've had four, but the first comment was about your hair being braided. So maybe the viewer just demands more braid content.
yeah, and some more moon, evidently. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
so
wants
Moon is not here this evening. Justin is back, but we are working with Moon in the background, trying to figure out a way we can get him on the network and get him to continue working on some fantasy football content. So we will work that out. What up, fellas? Rich, nice to see you. All right, everybody, enough with that intro, talking about braids and picture day and all that good stuff. Check out the show on the Twitter at Toilets to Titles. I'm on the Twitter at Coach Sheps. Justin is at the Twitter at Justin FF_. And we're on Apple Podcasts, we are on Podbean, we are on Spotify, we are on Anchor, we are on YouTube. If you have access to Apple Podcasts, it'd be greatly appreciated if you threw us a 5-star review. We do a listener league called the Frankenstank Listener League, which after NFL draft season, we're going to start really getting into Frankenstank. Now that Justin's back, we're going to be brainstorming some ideas for what we want to do for the upcoming season. We already have like a doc put together, some things we want to throw on there. So if you want to get in that league, throw us a 5-star Apple review. If it's funny, if it's good, if it makes me feel good about myself, we might even pay for your entry, which is $25. So you might even get in for free. And then also, if you want to get into our Gilded chat, reach out to me on Twitter at Coach Sheps, or reach out to the show, toiletstetitles@gmail.com. Gilded is where we have our Title Tribe conversations. So the Title Tribe are the people who listen and enjoy the show and enjoy our content. They have full access to us on Gilded 24/7. Any questions? And then George is also running the mock draft lavatory, which is like almost like every other day. He's running mock drafts in there. So you can get in there. You can mock with us. You can talk fantasy football. You can talk free agency. You can talk NFL draft. Whatever you want to talk about, we're talking about that in Gilded. If you have YouTube, throw us a like to some of our episodes, throw some comments, throw some subscribes. I know I'm asking please, because it helps us. Right now, we're almost at 970 subscribers. So we're getting close to 1,000, and 1,000 is a big milestone for us. Again, this is our third off season, I believe, and we're really working towards trying to, that's been something that's really been in our sights since we started. We're so close right now. So I can't wait to get in there. So I think that's really it. Am I missing anything, Justin? Or I'm asking the guy who's been gone for 6 weeks if I'm missing anything.
No, I mean, I know you kind of mentioned the Patreon, but if you want to take a look down there at the bottom, there's a different tiers that we offer. But I think we're ready to get rolling.
Yeah, Patreon's another way you could support the show. Patreon.com/toiletsandtitles. That's just anywhere from $3 to $20 a month. That we're going to come out with some new Patreon exclusive content. But with that, during the season, you can get access to our waiver wire episodes, one-on-one fantasy advice, DFS advice, free entry into Frankenstein, one-on-one roster analysis. We'll even do a 30-minute episode on one of your fantasy leagues. So we'll break it down top to bottom. So that's something we've never done that before. That's a $20 tier. So we would really like to do that. So someone wants to join at the $20 level, and that helps us do things like go to the Senior Bowl, go to the Fantasy Football Expo, go to the NFL Draft, all sorts of things that we're trying to do to try to get you up close and personal content. Like go look at our shorts on the YouTube channel. You will see all of our up close and personal content that D-Now and Jared got us while they're out there at the Combine. You'll also see on our YouTube channel all the episodes we did live from the Senior Bowl, so we can get you up close and personal. If you support the show, that helps us get to those things. And really, that's about it. So Justin, Colts fan, big Colts fan. If you're new to the show, Justin is our resident Colts fan, and Uncle Steve's in here. He says, hey, kids, that's our guy, one of the oldest Patreon members around, and not just because he's old, but because he's been with us from the start. He's also a Colts fan. So let's talk about the Colts. Yeah, let's talk about the Colts, Justin. How do you feel about the Colts this offseason and where you think they're going to head in the draft, my guy?
Well, so the good thing about the Colts, and I don't want to kind of jump ahead at what we're about to talk about with the Cowboys, but you mentioned on your Cowboys show with Campy recently that you feel like the Cowboys are in a really good spot because they're at a position where they don't have a huge positional need in any one particular spot, so they can kind of draft the best player available, right? So to make that comparison kind of on the polar opposite end, the Colts are in such dire need at so many different positions that they're kind of in the same boat. Like, obviously, quarterback is what we want, quarterback is what we need, but there's also a bunch of different ways to get that quarterback position as well. I mean, there's strong talks with, not strong talks between the Colts and Lamar, but strong talks with Lamar potentially being traded out. I know we're going to get to that in a little bit, but they can always take a quarterback at 104 if their guy is there, or maybe they can trade back a little bit.
Are you concerned? Do you think you are kind of pigeonholed into what quarterback you guys can have because Jonathan Taylor has never ran the read option?
I would not say that. I wouldn't say that at all because, I mean, I know it's a much, much lower tier than Jonathan Taylor, but we got Zach Moss there. He's more than capable in a read option, in my opinion.
The only reason I bring that up is I listened to the draft show on The Athletic, and they kind of brought up that talking point, like with Anthony Richardson and, like a Lamar Jackson. And they were just mentioning they don't know if the Colts offense or the offensive coordinator can adjust, and they don't know if Jonathan Taylor, but I would imagine a running back at the highest level who's as talented as Jonathan Taylor, I would imagine he could figure it out.
Yeah, but also, to be fair, like he's more than capable of catching the ball out of the backfield himself. I know people didn't say that coming out of Wisconsin, but that's because they didn't use him in that role in Wisconsin. The Colts have used him to catch the ball. The Colts have used him in positional situations from time to time. That he's definitely more than capable. And then you got the Zach Moss factor. But on top of all of that, I think that Ballard himself, our GM, can't really afford the time that it's going to take to kind of make Richardson ready. Like he's not quite pro ready yet. I think they're already looking at Will Levis. To be honest with you, I really think that he's the most capable quarterback, the most NFL ready quarterback that's going to be there at the 104 spot. So that's who I think they're going to get. But at the same time, I think they could legitimately trade back a few spots and still get Will Levis. I think if they get sniped on Will after they trade back, they can trade back even more and get Hendon Hooker later on. And Ballard has been known to trade back and still get a key piece that he likes. And I think Hendon Hooker would also be great for a startup offense. So, I mean, let's face it, we're starting all over. So, if there's one thing to be excited about as a Colts fan, it's to be able to see the progression of no expectations. Let's just see what they do and watch them slowly get better. So I guess it's kind of what I'm looking for at this point. But as far as in the draft, later in the draft, dude, we've lost some pretty key defensive players. And I think it's kind of understated how much they did for that Colts offense last year just because the whole defense looked so bad. But Stephon Gilmore was a key factor in that Colts defense. And he goes to the Cowboys, to your Cowboys, your beloved Cowboys. And then Bobby Okereke.
21. The last defensive back for the Cowboys to wear 21, I believe, was Deion Sanders. So
yeah, he's definitely not quite that anymore, but or ever was. But yeah, no
defensive player of the year.
Yeah, yes, for sure. And I mean, like I said, he still had some gas in the tank last season. I was pretty sad to see him go, but I also kind of see the angle they're going with that veteran minimum. And
we got a few people in here saying that the Colts should just tank, and Uncle Steve is one of them. D-Now's another one saying they should just tank for next year's quarterback. And I also see Moon in here, man. We were just talking about you. Glad to see you in the chat. And I know told everybody we're working in the background to try to figure something out. Maybe we can get you on the network for some more fantasy football content. But go on, Justin.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, and then Bobby Okereke is going to stay right there in the NFC East with Stephon Gilmore with the Giants. And he was a key integral part to that defense, especially in certain situations, package defenses that they would have him out there. I mean, he when it was time to ball, he balled. So I hate seeing him go. He was a personal favorite when they pulled him up. Really super smart guy. But yeah, so later on in the draft, I see them taking a whole lot of defensive players. And with that early second, depending on how they trade back, if they trade back, I'd really like to see them go for a guard or an offensive tackle because as good as that offensive line was supposed to be, that's exactly how bad they were. So,
well, you drafted for the Colts in our mock draft, which you can find on toiletstotitles.com. on the main page. And then if you can't find it on the main page, because we got content coming out all the time and new content replaces the old content, you can click the tab, click NFL draft, and then click mock drafts. And then you'll be able to see all the mock drafts we've done this offseason. We were joined by a bunch of people, most of them in this chat. I drafted for Moon's Falcons, and I think Moon is pretty happy with how I did for his Falcons. But you took Will Levis, pick number 4, and you took O'Cyrus Torrence. So you are a man of your word. What you hope the Colts do, you did.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
Would you be content with that draft?
And
Will Levis, O'Cyrus Torrence?
Yes, I would be. I did try to trade back though. That's kind of big for me. Like if they take Will Levis at 104, I'll be happy. Especially if I know that they tried to trade back. If they stay put at 104 and they take anything other than a quarterback, then I'm 100% on board with what everybody else in the chat's saying. Just tank it out. Let Gardner Minshew and Nick Foles battle it out for who's going to be the ultimate backup in that offense. But other than that, and I still don't anticipate a guy like Will Levis of being a one-man show that's all of a sudden going to bring the Colts to the promised land. I mean, we're still going to be in a rebuild mode. So even if Levis comes in, I mean, I know he's the most quarterback or the most NFL ready, but you kind of want to see them not do so well because
you got Minshew who could lead the team for a season.
Yeah.
It just stinks because running backs, man, like Jonathan Taylor is so damn talented, and to see a team waste his prime is what's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough to swallow.
Being a guy that's not ever been on Gardner Minshew, that's always kind of been like, you guys are overreacting. He's not that good.
Dude, I
potentially leading my team.
I stood on the table for Gardner Minshew early on. I love it. I love his energy. I saw D now say that he thinks coach is he thinks when he talks about braids, what did he say? I picture coach with braided pigtails, man. It's possible. I might go I might go a braided pigtails route. Maybe I'll make like an NFL draft bet where if somebody falls to the Cowboys and I'm super stoked with who they select, I'll go with braided pigtails, and that'll be like me giving something to the NFL draft gods for giving me something, because the NFL draft gods want to see me with braided pigtails. Nino says Ginshu is trash. I
Yeah.
mean,
So
he's a player who has a possibility to start in the NFL. So you say he's trash. I say he's probably the 34th or 35th best quarterback in the world. So that's one man's poo is another man's that. What about trying to get Hooker? I mean, that's possible. I took Hendon Hooker for the Atlanta Falcons in the second round of the mock draft that we did, and I think that's a good landing spot. So if the Colts hadn't taken Levis, he would have been there.
Right.
And there's a possibility would you have taken him there?
Yes, absolutely. Or like I said, if had my trade back idea worked and I had traded back and then I got sniped on Levis, I'm okay with taking Hooker, mid late first round as well.
Yeah, Nino's in here saying Cam over Minshew. Your Patriots had Cam Newton, and you want to talk about trash? He looked absolutely terrible for the New England Patriots. I wouldn't pick him up. No, he's got no business being in the NFL right now, and he's trying to steal the shine of the kids at the Auburn Pro Day. Good job.
He's just trolling me right now. Good
yeah,
job.
I think he is. You have anything else to say about the draft for the Indianapolis Colts?
No, man, I've had that on my chest for the last month and a half, waiting to come back to be able to talk the Colts. And then my first episode back, we had Memphis on, who's also a great Colts fan and a great analyst in his own right. So I was more than happy to let him talk. So I appreciate you letting me spend the first few minutes getting this show back to Colts Nation like it belongs.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And now he says, trolling me never. Yeah, yeah. And Dino says Cam's shoulder is gone. So with the Cowboys, they had Tajay Spears down in Dallas. They had him. So roll wave. We're big fans of Tajay Spears here with Toilets and Titles. He's been on the show with Nino down there, who's in the chat right now. And the Cowboys took him out to lunch. So they're interested. That being said, with some of the moves they've done, I got a show where I talk about the Cowboys on the network anyway, so I'm not going to bore you guys. It's on Sundays. It's with my guy Andrew Campy. It's now about them Cowboys. I just think the Cowboys no longer have a major need. They don't need a major offensive weapon, so I don't think they're going to go running back early. I don't think they need to go tight end early. I think they put themselves in a position where they can go best player available. But I do think when it comes to needs, if we're going to talk about highest priority, until they bring back Jonathan Hankins, I'm going to say it's interior of the offensive line. They also said that right now Terrence Steele is the swing tackle. So that means they have Tyron Smith playing moving to right tackle. They have Tyler Smith playing left tackle. Connor McGovern's gone. He was the left guard. So as of this morning, I thought they didn't have a need. But if you're putting Terrence Steele at the swing tackle and you're not putting Tyler Smith at left guard, that does mean there's a need at left guard. So we might go. Supposedly they really like Avila from TCU, so that's somewhere we can go. So if you want to hear more about the Cowboys, I'll be on Now About Them Cowboys with Andrew Campy on Sunday mornings. And if you want to hear more about the Colts, I'm sure Justin will be dropping some shorts soon on the YouTube channel where he'll be talking about some of the guys that he's hoping they'll take. But Justin, let's talk about some of the biggest moves from free agency. So what are you thinking as far as biggest winners of the offseason so far?
So my biggest winner that I have, and part of that is because you have a couple on your list that I would have mentioned for sure.
Mention them, man. Go ahead, you can have them.
Well, for sure. See, that's the thing. The top one is your guy, your running back, your Cowboys running back, Tony Pollard with Zeke leaving. So I want to leave that one for you for sure. But my big one that I wanted to talk about is Ramondre Stevenson. And anybody that knows me, anybody that was in my leagues last year, even in redraft, I drafted this guy probably 2 rounds early of ADP just so I could get some Ramondre Stevenson on my team. And it was all because of what I saw in the preseason, which is not something that I normally do. I'm not normally that preseason guy, but there was just something about the grit that he ran with that made me think he could be a Belichick guy. And which is rare. Usually in that offense, it's running backs just kind of are a revolving door. But it was pretty obvious when they were both healthy that Stevenson was getting most of the work. And then Stevenson just got hurt a lot, and Damian Harris was in there, or Damian Harris. Now Damian Harris is gone. He's with the Bills. Ramondre was already a top 10 PPR points per game PPR last season. And now all he has to compete with is a declining James Robinson. So at least until draft day, who knows what they're going to do in the draft. But then they added Riley Reif and Calvin Anderson to that offensive line to kind of help fortify that O-line a bit, which, they were hurting at that offensive line in several games last season. So I can really see a lot of 100-yard rushing games out of Ramondre Stevenson. Whether or not he'll get a lot of touchdowns depends on how well the rest of that offense can flow. But he'll at least see a lot of touches and a lot of 100-yard games. So
Right.
that's
which is excellent for redraft.
Yeah.
And I feel that with Tony Pollard for redraft. Tony Pollard had career highs, rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, reception yards last year. And the Cowboys are going to run the wheels off this dude. They're going to use him like they used Dalton Schultz last year. Dalton Schultz, they tagged. They drafted 2 guys to try to replace him. One of them, Jake Ferguson. One of them, Peyton Hendershot. And now they let Dalton Schultz go. Tony Pollard, they tagged him, and he signed the tag once he started to see how these running backs were valued. He saw some of these contracts coming in. He's like, man, running backs aren't making any money. I better sign this tag before the Cowboys pull it back. He did.
Top 5 money.
Yeah, the Cowboys are going to run him into the ground, and then they're going to let him go. So I'm looking for a huge explosive season. And now I'm talking about 2 Bears. Khalil Herbert for the Chicago Bears, another guy for redraft. Khalil Herbert looked excellent. You know me. I love David Montgomery. He went to Detroit. Khalil Herbert has the backfield. And now I think the passing attack in Chicago is going to be even more dangerous, regardless of what you think of Justin Fields. Justin Fields is dangerous with his legs. They traded for Chase Claypool last year. They already got Darnell Mooney. They already got Cole Kmet. And now they got DJ Moore, right? So he's got weapons. So I think Justin Fields, he's going up. And I think Khalil Herbert, due to the offense getting better in general, and due to David Montgomery being out the door, that's going to make his job that much easier. And Bears got picks. The Bears got weapons. The Bears signed linebackers. Now the Bears can use those picks to build that offensive line and protect their quarterback. And who's that going to help? And this is me assuming, but I'm assuming that they are going to do this based upon the offseason they had and based upon filling needs with money and trades. That leaves the offensive line. And that puts them in a position in this draft to attack the offensive line, put some young studs on there to keep their quarterback upright and to develop holes for their running back to get through. So I think Khalil Herbert and Justin Fields are both winners. And I know Nate's not in the chat. He wouldn't like to hear it because he's not too high on the Chicago Bears being a Packers fan. But man, how about Jordan Love? Jordan Love's did you have that on your list?
No, I did not. But I had a segue from the Bears, but
yeah,
I did not have I did not have Jordan Love, but for fantasy purposes, absolutely. We finally get to see what this boy has under center now. Right? I mean, we've been waiting for it for years. There's a lot of promise. They spent a first round pick on him. So yeah, I can't wait to see him play.
Man, I have like 7 or 8 Jordan Love autographed cards that I bought his rookie year, just thinking he's the next Packers great. And then the last 2 years, I thought they were garbage. So I put them in the bottom of my pile, and now they're coming back up to the top of the pile. I'm shining them up, and I'm going to hold on to them. That's why I had a bunch of Jalen Hurts I sold this year because that dude broke out. So follow me for NFL signed autographed card content because that's what we do here at Toys Titles. But yeah, I think Jordan Love with Romeo Doubs. I think with Christian Watson, he's got Aaron Jones back. He's got A.J. Dillon. And watch, I think in our mock draft, man, where did the Packers go in our mock draft? They took Jackson Smith-Njigba. Miranda took them. So I think that's Miranda Marie Murda. She wrote on Twitter. She took Jackson Smith-Njigba. So how funny would it be for the Green Bay Packers to let Aaron Rodgers go and then draft Jackson Smith-Njigba like the first round, the first year Rodgers is gone? But you said you had a segue from the Bears. So where are you going from there?
Yeah, so I was going to talk about the Panthers. The reason why the Bears are where they're at right now, with especially with their draft capital. So the Panthers did a lot here. The one player that I have to choose out of this, because the topic here was winners of the free agency, I'm going to go with C.J. Stroud as the winner of the free agency, and that's just because it's almost like the Panthers traded away Christian McCaffrey last season with the delusion of making this look like this was going to be a rebuild team. And then suddenly they trade away DJ Moore And then it's like, okay, yeah, they're going for that one pick. They're definitely going to be in rebuild mode. But if you think about what they have on the field and you think about all these free agent moves, they signed Miles Sanders. Admittedly, I'm not big on Miles Sanders. I never really have been. And I mean, it is what it is, but he has shown some talent and he has gotten better since he's been in the NFL. And they have other backup running backs, and running backs, it's not a super vital position anymore in the NFL. So you have that. Then they sign Adam Thielen and DJ Chark, Hayden Hurst from Cincinnati. So and then of course the re-signing of Bradley Bossman, their longtime center. So they're building that offense around being able to allow CJ Stroud to come in as a rookie and actually be competitive in year one in a very winnable division. I mean, there's a lot of down teams in that division. So plus they also didn't do too bad on the defensive side by signing up Von Bell and Shai Tuttle as well. So I think that team is kind of in rebuild, but kind of like, you know what, we
That whole division is.
yeah.
You know, like the Buccaneers bringing in Baker Mayfield. And what about the Atlanta Falcons? Lamar Jackson demanded a trade, right? So I don't know if the Ravens are going to give him his demands, but as of now, his agent himself demanded a trade. And rumors have it, you know, it's Washington, Atlanta. If he went to Atlanta with Drake London, with Kyle Pitts, you know, that offense could be very, and then Tyler Algier, Cordell Patterson, it would be very interesting on turf, indoors, like in a controlled environment for half the games. I could see Atlanta being a favorite if he goes there.
And that was my third and final winner, and it wasn't a player.
I'm sorry.
It wasn't a player on the Falcons. It was the entire team. Like if, and I don't think that's going to happen, but if they are able to get Lamar, if they're able to make that trade, I want any piece of that offense that I can possibly get. Just because, I mean, they're young. They got Tyler Algier there, like as you mentioned. They've got Drake now. So I mean, and Drake is up and coming. He's only going to get better. So they signed the right tackle, Caleb McGarry. So, and then they still have the 108, and I'm assuming they'll probably have to give up the 108 to get Lamar. Okay, fine, you do that, and then some, I'm sure. But yeah, it's a very winnable division, and maybe we might see them competing for that division title. But for sure.
So I have a few other winners. One of them being Deshaun Watson. The Browns go out, they get Elijah Moore, right? They already got Amari Cooper. They got Donovan Peoples-Jones. They brought back David Njoku. They're supposedly moving on from Nick Chubb. Yet to be seen. But even if they don't move on from Nick Chubb, which I think is boneheaded, I still think that dude can play. I still think he's a phenomenal running back. All he's done is keep his mouth shut and work for the Cleveland Browns when they haven't always been an ideal franchise and have been somewhat of a dumpster fire. That dude showed up to work every day and ran his tail off for you, and now you're going to get rid of him. But that being said, I think Deshaun Watson takes a step this season, and the Browns are saying they're looking forward to chucking the football. So if you held on to Deshaun Watson throughout the Deshaun Watson saga, especially in a super flex league, this year it's going to pay off. He's going to have a full offseason with the team. He's got weapons around him, and they're ready to let him let it fly. So Deshaun Watson, another quarterback. See, George is in here. Mike White, Miami Dolphins. If you play, I've said this before, if you play in a super flex league, you need to roster Mike White. You need to trade for him. Trade for him. Put him on your bench. Trade a third round, especially if it's IDP. Third round, people can get good linebackers. You know, there's talent in the third round. I'd be willing to trade a pick like that just to roster Mike White, because I wouldn't be surprised if he starts more than 6 games this season. I would not be surprised. Mike White showed he could do it with the Jets. I'm not saying he's a quarterback one, but with Tyreek Hill, with Jalen Waddle, and with Mike McDaniels, I think Mike White can finish on a weekly basis quarterback 14 to 17, which in a super flex league, that is startable. So go ahead, pick up Mike White. And then finally, Jake Ferguson. Justin, this one I specifically put for you. It was all last offseason. What'd I tell you?
Yep, you told me everything I need to know about Ferguson and his abilities, and you told me that they were bringing him up to be the next tight end. Not trying to push out Dalton Schultz, but it was just going to be a natural progression, and here we are.
Quicker than expected, in a year. So Jake Ferguson at Wisconsin, 4-year starter, Okay. 145 receptions, 1,600 yards, 11.2 yards per reception, 13 touchdowns. So Jake Ferguson, as of now, this is before the draft, right? So the Cowboys haven't taken a tight end. And again, I said this on my short on the YouTube channel, Toilets and Titles. I don't necessarily think they should go for an elite pass catching tight end. I think they should go for a dual threat tight end, somebody who can also block, because Noah Brown's gone, and Noah Brown was our run blocking wide receiver. We lose our run blocking wide receiver. We lose our pass catching tight end. Let's not replace them both with two separate players. Let's find somebody that can do both, so we don't have to put them both on the field. And then we can let guys like Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb do their job. So I think getting a guy, and I think Jake Ferguson can do that. I want to see him take a step in the second season, but there is enough options in this draft that I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys go with a guy like Sam Laporta, Tucker Kraft, so somebody in maybe like the third or fourth round. But Jake Ferguson's a winner. So that's all of our winners from the offseason. And Justin, now we want to do a little bit of an exercise that we've never done on the show. We're going to have some fun.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're going to pull up. We're going to do a mock draft. All right. So we're on Sleeper, me and Justin, Dynasty, Superflex, no timer. We're just going to go through a startup mock draft, and we are just going to take some picks. If we want to discuss the pick, we'll discuss the pick, and you, the listener, you'll get to listen in. If you want to suggest who should go next, you can suggest it in the comments, and we can tell you whether we agree or disagree. We're just going to go through a mock, and we got about, I'd say, 25 minutes left of the show. So we'll go through the mock. We'll go as far as we can. And hopefully any of you that are doing a Dynasty startup, this will just give you some food for thought when you are doing your Dynasty startup of what we think, how we'd select, how we'd make these picks, and any trades we'd consider. So I think we're going to get this started. So we're on Sleeper right now. Justin, you have the first selection, and you can get this thing kicked off and let me know where your brain's at.
All right. So obviously, being ready for the draft, I need to not be so ready and shut off that sound. So I had time to look at it. I had time to get ready, and now here we are. I know who I'm taking, but it's not. Oh, here we go. Okay. So it is a super flex. So obviously, I think as good as those top wide receivers are, and even one or two running backs up there in a super flex this early on, I'm not going to let my quarterback get away. You have two different options here, really. If you're going quarterback, I'm going to go with the guy that has about 400 years left on his contract.
Mahomes.
Still making all the noise.
I got to probably mute it on my end.
Oh,
I just did. So I don't like how I'm on Sleeper currently. And so Patrick Mahomes went. That's the first selection here. I think that's pretty chalk. Again, this is Dynasty. This is super flex. And next time we do this, we're going to do a redraft. Rich is already in here saying take CMC. You're bananas. I'm not going to take a running back this high, especially I don't even – how old is Christian McCaffrey right now? It's got to be 27, 28. You know, let's Google. Let's Google.
26.
26. When's his birthday?
I don't know.
All right, let's find that out. Christian McCaffrey, June 7th. So he's 26. You said he'll be 27 this season.
There you go.
So in my eyes, Christian McCaffrey's 27. It's already been a little banged up here and there. I'm not taking him this early. What I don't like about Sleeper right now is that I cannot sort by position.
Oh, that's because I just made 5 super flex spots. I shouldn't have done that.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So never mind. So where am I going? So I'm going quarterback, right? So if I'm on the clock, team 2, I see Patrick Mahomes going. I'm thinking Josh Allen, but I'm also thinking Joe Burrow. I'm also thinking Justin Herbert. This is it's hard, to make this. Oh, Jalen Hurts too, man. Do we believe that, with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith is young, Dallas Goedert is an absolute stud? Is Jalen Hurts in the conversation to go second overall?
I was down on that entire Philly team all year last year, and every single week they proved me wrong. I'm not making that mistake again. He's in the talks. He's definitely in the talks because Allen did have a bit of a down year last year.
Are we worried about Josh Allen getting hurt the way he plays? And I guess that if I'm going to be worried about Josh Allen getting hurt, I got to be worried about Jalen Hurts getting hurt.
Right.
But Josh Allen's been doing it longer. So I would think, due to mileage, Josh Allen, this is just my thought process, Josh Allen is closer to that injury than Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
mean,
crazy or is that?
he's also bigger height wise and whatnot. So the bigger they are, the harder they fall, sort of thing. And Hertz is more stout, more able to break through some of the tackles. But I don't know, man. I think both of them are pretty equal. I know where I would go if it were me, but you're on the clock
Well,
here.
I'm also so it's between Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Joe Burrow for me. And
Yeah,
with Burrow, do we think the Bengals keep Higgins and Chase together?
for dynasty purposes, I don't.
Like long term, do we
Yeah,
think T Higgins is gone like in 2 years? You think they're going to be able to afford keeping him there with Chase, or you think it's
I think that, but also as close as they are, I also kind of wonder how big of a run they're going to try to make to get Justin Jefferson there when their rookie contracts run out.
oh man? And the Vikings have shown they're willing to trade their guys.
Get LSU
So
LSU North out there.
man, the NFL was so Campy's in here saying the NFL was looking at making a change to stop the quarterback sneak Philly ran last year, which was unstoppable. Did that happen? They did. They did stop that. I'm almost certain that sneak play, the pushing, the players pushing players. I believe that stopped. Steve Evans says Allen over Hurts. You know what? I also like the weapons that Jalen Hurts has over Josh Allen. I like that offensive line, although it's getting older. I think that Jason Kelsey coming back. I'm going. Give me Jalen Hurts. So Patrick Mahomes is gone, followed by Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is the second player off the board. Now, Justin, you're on the clock.
Yeah. So this is the downside to only two of us drafting. You said Josh Allen, right?
No, I said Jalen Hurts, my friend.
Okay. Well, yes, I agree.
You would have taken Hurts.
No, no. I would have went with Josh Allen there personally.
Okay. Well,
Uh,
you're up, so you
yeah,
can take him.
I'm going to absolutely. So I mean, all the same reason we just talked about, except I just feel like Josh Allen being a little bit more of a vet. Jalen Hurts is gone, so I don't have to make that decision. I undoubtedly know who my number 4 quarterback is here, and I'm going to take him at 5 if you don't. So you may not want to pivot.
Well, so Josh Allen's gone. Are you concerned at all with his relationship with Stephon Diggs and how they seem to kind of be at odds with each other at the end of the season? Are you concerned at all? Josh Allen in big games, not being able to get it done. Is that going to cut into his ego? Is that going to affect his play in the regular season? Or you think that's just a postseason thing?
I mean, sure, maybe. I guess there might be a little bit to that, but I feel like we would have heard a lot more about it this offseason and maybe some trade talks if it was actually something that was serious. But
I
on
mean, there's
top of
been
that,
rumblings.
there's concerns with any quarterback. I mean, I have concerns about Pat Mahomes. It's just he has less than others.
You do?
Well, sure, yeah. I mean,
Name them.
so this season he came out in much better shape than he did last season, but he did come out at one point kind of lackadaisical. He does seem to start off a little slow every season, so you have questions about his off-season commitment sometimes. I mean, he's been relatively healthy. He does play through injuries, but he's never
And
been
Kelsey can't play forever.
okay. Yeah, I guess that's a big point as well. Sure, absolutely. So, I mean, there's always question marks with anybody, I guess, but
Right.
I guess I typically just try to look at the upside and hope that I get the upside.
All right, I'm going to go with Joe Burrow here at 4. So he's somebody I was considering at 2 between Hurts and Allen. And I just think he's got it. And he's going to chuck. I think Cincinnati's going to chuck. I think they're moving on. Samaje Perine's out the door. Joe Mixon's practically out the door. They're considering bringing in Ezekiel Elliott. I know that's an option, but I think they'll bring in a pass catching back as well. And Joe Burrow just day one came to the NFL. He could chuck. The dude can throw and he could play and took over that division, right? Like absolutely took over that division. It was the Ravens. It was the Steelers. I mean, the Ravens with MVP Lamar Jackson. Joe Burrow's been stealing the show, and I know Lamar Jackson hasn't been on the field too much due to contract, due to injury. But Joe Burrow is my 4th selection. So we have 4 quarterbacks off the board for those listening at home: Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow. And Justin, you're back on the clock.
All right. So when it comes to Superflex, my next tier, I have 5 guys there that I think are all relatively about the same, in my opinion. So I'm going to take a little strategy here if I'm the 5 pick and I see 4 quarterbacks going off in Dynasty. As we all know, in redraft, running backs are king. I don't care what the format is. If it's PPR, you find the running backs that get catches. If it's not PPR, you find any running back. But you have to load up in running backs in redraft. You don't have to, but it's usually a lot easier to win that way. But in Dynasty, I usually go the other way. If I'm going to go non-quarterback in a super flex league, I want to try to get that young wide receiver because those young, already proven wide receivers are hard to come by, and they're going to be good for a lot longer than your typical running backs are, since running backs kind of get thrown out in the wash on a regular basis in the NFL these days. So for all those reasons, I'm going to take my favorite wide receiver in the NFL, Justin Jefferson.
I like it. I like it. Justin Jefferson's off the board, so he's the first skill position player outside quarterback to be taken. Young, talented, absolutely dominating since he came to the NFL.
And I think he's going to be quarterback proof too. So, like, no matter who ends up taking over in Minnesota when Cousins eventually moves on, I don't think it's going to matter.
I think there's a tier break at quarterback, but I think the tier break was after Allen, and I think Burrow is in the next tier, but he's very close to breaking into that top tier. And maybe even there's a tier 1 with Mahomes, tier 2 with Hurts, Allen. You have Allen first, and I'm just, maybe the recency bias, but also again, I like the weapons. I like the situation in Philadelphia. I like the way they're trending, and I just like how Jalen Hurts looked absolutely dominant in the Super Bowl. And I kind of was thinking, maybe he'd shy away, but the dude, probably the best game he's ever played, outside of that fumble. And that stings for me to say because I'm a Cowboys fan. I was hoping he would just burn to the ground, and he didn't. So Justin Herbert to me is in that tier with Joe Burrow. And I know Keenan Allen's getting old, but they brought, and I know Austin Eckler might be on the way out, but I think they're probably a year or two away from completely retooling. And I expect that retool to start right now with Kellen Moore. Maybe they let Austin Eckler go. They go ahead and they bring in a running back. I do think they're going to draft a wide receiver. We've mocked Jalen Hyatt there quite a few times. I think he would fit in perfectly right there. So I'm going to go, let me go with Justin Herbert. And I think that for me right now, I know there's question marks about Lamar. There's question marks about Deshaun Watson. There's question marks about Justin Fields. These are all guys that I'd want as a quarterback 1 if I'm picking late in the first round or early second round, even Dak Prescott, right? But I don't think they're as safe as any of the guys drafted above them. And now is when I would consider drafting other skill position players over quarterback.
I get that. I totally get it. And Justin Herbert is my number 5 quarterback on my list as well. So if I'm going quarterback at this spot, that's where I'm going. I think my tiers are maybe a little broader, a little wider than yours. I still have Pat Mahomes in a tier of his own. My tier 2 is Hurts, Allen, and Burrow. I kind of have all 3 of them kind of roped in there together.
Right.
So, and I don't think you can go wrong with any of them, to be honest with you.
Right.
My next tier, there's 4 in that tier, and you just took one of them. I still have Fields, Trevor Lawrence, and Lamar.
How do you feel about Fields? Like,
I think for fantasy purposes, he's kind of matchup proof. I mean, it's hard to stop the guy for fantasy purposes. So, I as far as his health goes, I mean, he definitely has the ability to stand in the pocket. He's a talented quarterback, and I mean, obviously the question marks are there. He still is athletic. He still can and does run. So you have the injuries to be concerned of, and then the offense around him. A lot of times the Bears just flat out stink, and that is never good for your quarterbacks.
no,
Just ask Jim McMahon.
yeah, that is not. It's not solid.
No. So if I'm thinking quarterback here, then I'm probably heavily going with Justin Fields. He's my number 6 guy. But again, I'm in this middle of the first round area where those young, good wide receivers are way too tempting for me. So I have to go with Jamar Chase here. Because whether or not they can keep Higgins, I don't think they're ever going to get rid of Chase, and I think that him and Burrow are going to be a good combination for a very long time. So also, Lori is going to give me a lot of crap for not taking Joe Burrow. So at least this way, I've got the other side of that that stack.
Right. So you have a reason to watch the Bengals.
That's right. That's right.
Right. So she can watch them for her reason. You can watch them for your reason.
Right.
Now, all right. So Jefferson's gone. Chase is gone. So now I'm picking at 8. So my mindset is here I am. I'm picking now, and then I'm going to pick again in like 9 selections, right? So do I want to go quarterback here just because quarterback's getting thin? Or do I want to go with my next wide receiver because I think there's a teardrop after this wide receiver? I don't think the teardrop is necessarily a year one teardrop. I think it's more so years down the line because I think Cooper Kupp, he's going to put up numbers, right? But he's getting
Right.
older. He's got a lot of mileage. I don't have him in this tier. I got CeeDee Lamb in this tier because he's younger. He's going to have Brandon Cooks out there. He's going to have Michael Gallup, who's year 2 of after ACL surgery. He's got Mike McCarthy calling the plays. I think things are going to be a little different in Dallas, and CeeDee Lamb's gotten better every year. I was questioning CeeDee Lamb after the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. I should have never done that because that dude, I was afraid he wasn't going to rise to the alpha standard, and he was an absolute alpha down the stretch. And I think having a guy like Brandon Cooks is only going to make it easier on him because now he's going to be able to have a little more space. Brandon Cooks can still fly. He could still demand bracket coverage, have safeties over the top. And that's going to open things over the middle for a guy like CeeDee Lamb. So I really like him. I like some of these quarterbacks. Just give me CeeDee Lamb. All right. Just you made the decision. I was going to make it, but I like it.
My bad. I thought
I was going there. I was going there. So
I was just going to do it while you were talking, so I didn't.
I like it.
Try to find it later.
I like it. Now I couldn't audible at the last second, which why I was considering, but I'll go with CeeDee Lamb. I have him right there. I think he's still. I think Chase and Jefferson are a tier above CeeDee Lamb, but I have him at the because I just don't think he's going to get the volume those guys get.
Yes,
he's talented. He's very good after the catch, but Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, I think, will get probably 20 to 30 more targets than CeeDee Lamb.
Yep.
So that's why. So who do you have at selection number 9?
Okay, so my top tier wide receivers are Jefferson and Chase. My second tier is Lamb, AJ Brown, and actually, believe it or not, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I have him as my number, my number 5 wide receiver. So, but I feel like with CD, AJ Brown, and Amon-Ra in that range, I can start kind of also thinking about quarterback again. I can also kind of start thinking about some of these young talented running backs, but we're getting towards the end of the draft. So you got to remember in a snake draft, you're going to have this back-to-back pick. So it's something to consider. So look at what's left on the board, look at your opponents, know what they're going to draft sort of thing. In this case, we're pretending like we don't really know, or we're trying to pretend like we don't know who each other are going to pick. But I think I'm going to go back to my quarterbacks list again, thinking, now that there's been a little run with something else, maybe these guys on the back end might start taking quarterback. I want to take my quarterback in that next tier. I want one of these quarterbacks before they all get taken. So I'm going to go with Justin Fields right here as for the 109.
All right, Justin Fields is gone. And my selection, I'm going quarterback as well at the end of the first year. I'm starting to get a little nervous, and I know how I pick at the end of the draft. So I'm starting to think what I think others are going to do at the end of the draft. So I'm going to go with quarterback, and I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson. And my thought process with Lamar Jackson is the squeaky wheel gets greased, I believe is the saying. And this wheel has been squeaking for quite some time. And I think we're closer to a solution than we are to the start of the problem, because the problem's been going on for too long. We've all known it. The Ravens know it. Lamar Jackson knows it, and they need to resolve it. Like, it's an issue. Baltimore's not going to be able to just – they need to move on as a franchise. Either lock the guy up and get it done, or get him out the door, because – and it's really not like – no one's really embarrassing themselves. Like, the Ravens aren't really embarrassing themselves. And Lamar's like, he's his own agent, so he's representing himself. And sometimes he's saying stuff on Twitter, but it's really not embarrassing. So no one really looks super foolish. Like, there are some franchises that handle stuff like this, and I hope I'm making sense, but I don't think the Ravens, it's just like a messy situation. Like, it's like, say you got 2 friends and they're getting a divorce, and you respect them both, and like, it's really not like, you're just like, just get it over with. Like, it's not like one's doing this or one's doing that. You're just like, it's just better for the both of you to just move apart. And I think that's how I feel about the Baltimore Ravens. I think it's going to happen. I still think Lamar can play. And I'm going to take him at 10 and just for the upside, especially after Fields went at 9. Because if Fields went at 9, I know Lamar can do consistently what I think Fields can do, what I want Fields to do consistently. I know that Lamar can do that. So I'm liking that he's picked right in that area.
Yep, and he was my next quarterback, and ultimately, no matter where he goes, you have to believe that the offensive weapons have got to be better than what they had in Baltimore for him
Right.
with his style of play, especially since none of those running backs could ever stay healthy.
Right.
So I'm back up with 11 again. Now I'm at this spot because Lamar was the last of tier 3 quarterbacks for me. So now I'm down to tier 4 quarterbacks. And when I look at my tier 4 quarterbacks, there's 4 quarterbacks there. I've got Dak, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, and Kyler Murray. So yeah, I'm already putting rookie quarterbacks up there that I think are going to get a run in year 1 as my top quarterback.
You have insulted a quarterback.
I'm well aware. I'm well aware. I've actually insulted several here.
There is one in particular who is young, who looks like a lion, and I cannot believe you have some of those guys above him.
Yep. Well, I mean, it is what it is.
And I'm glad you do, because I'm taking him next, and that's Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, I did forget about Trevor Lawrence.
You did.
T-Law was number 7. I had him one spot above Lamar. I thought we were on the same page. Okay. So yeah, T-Law is still in my 3rd tier. You're right.
I'm sorry.
Right.
When you put CJ Stroud out there, because look at what the Jaguars. Right. So I just tipped my hand. So I guess I shouldn't have done that. But look at what the Jaguars are putting around this dude. Like, and then look at like that playoff game against the Chargers. Like, dude looked like doo-doo. Came back like guts, man. I'm on the Trevor Lawrence train.
You shouldn't have said anything, man, because I honestly that was a mistake on my
part. I couldn't not say anything because you insulted him. Because I felt like it needed to be said, and I'm a man of integrity.
Because my thinking was with 4 guys in that next tier, I know you're not going to be able to take all 4 of them with the next 2 picks, so I was going to wait on quarterback.
Right.
And he is now the last available in my 3rd tier, so I kind of have to take him now. So, sorry.
I shouldn't have said anything.
No, you shouldn't have.
But this is for analysis. This is for analysis.
You wait until that sticker's on the board, and then you rub my face on it.
This is for listeners at home. And they needed to hear me go to bat for Trevor Lawrence so that when the opportunity comes and they're picking at the end of the 1st round, they don't forget this kid. Because the Jacksonville Jaguars are committed to him. They're putting weapons around him. Travis Etienne looked lights out last year. They're probably going to bring in another running back. Calvin Ridley's back. I'm not going to expect too much, but he doesn't have to be phenomenal because Christian Kirk's looked good. Evan Ingram's looked good. Even Zay Jones looked good. And I'm all in. I'm all in on Trevor Lawrence right now. Talk about stickers. If this was a live draft board, I know you do those.
I do.
There's probably a sticker that says steal.
Steal of the draft, yeah.
Put that there.
Oh, my home league is going to Superflex finally for the first time ever. We just had our rules meeting this past Sunday, 2 days ago.
How's Uncle Steve feel about that?
He's actually a perfect
an advocate.
Yeah, like he's finally coming around to.
How does Uncle Steve show up to these rule meetings? Like, what is his whole?
Like a freaking boss.
I need to hear talk me through Uncle Steve.
You know what?
Your DMs pre-rules meeting and then at the rules meeting.
For the last 15 years leading up to the rules meeting, it's curmudgeony old crotchety man.
Oh yeah.
But
I can imagine.
For some reason, this year it's a whole new Uncle Steve, and I
What's
think
up with that?
They have a bunch of like home renovations getting done. Like his kids are all moving out, so he's got grandkids to play with and upgraded stuff at his house.
Life's
so
good.
I think he's just in a good mood,
right? Because he doesn't like rule changes.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. But he's been all 4 of these, so yeah, it was interesting. I'll put it.
Man, it is. I can only imagine being in a personal like up close and personal league with Uncle Steve, because being in a few dynasty leagues with him, man, he stands out. He is a character. When you play in a league with Uncle Steve, you are in a league with Uncle Steve, and it's fun, man. So this dude, Uncle Steve, we love you and we appreciate you. Now I am on the clock. I was going to go with Trevor Lawrence. I'm disappointed he's gone, but that's, C'est la vie. Is that how would that be? Is that is it proper to say "c'est la vie" at this in this moment?
If
I
I
don't
was
know, but
if I were cultured, I'd let you know.
yeah, but let's just go with it. C'est la vie, man.
They love you.
Um, I'm gonna go quarterback. Hmm. I'm considering Tyreek Hill, but I'm also considering Jalen Waddle because of the age. But I'm also worried about the quarterback situation, and I don't think Tua Tagovailoa is going to be there forever. So they're going to need a new quarterback at some point. I'm also worried about the Dolphins if they don't win it this year. How long are they going to be? They're all in right now, and they kind of remind me of the Rams 3 or 4 years ago. I could see a situation where they blow this thing up in 2 years if it don't work out. Mike McDaniel's gone. You know, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle's gone. Like they gotta reassess and start over. So I'm a little worried. But right now, I think those guys are dudes. If this was redraft, they are very worth it. I think Jalen Waddle's an absolute stud. Deshaun Watson and Dak Prescott are staring me in the face. They are both staring me in the face. I don't think, Kyler Murray, man, I just don't trust him. I don't at all. The talent is there. I think he's in the tier with Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson, but I just can't make that selection. I don't want him on my roster. Deshaun Watson,
So what I do like about Murray for the first time ever, though, is they did sign or re-sign 4 key offensive linemen. So they're revamping that offensive line.
But did you see his own teammate like come out and throw him under the bus?
Yeah, yeah. No, I feel you. I'm not big on him either.
Like
I'm
a
just
current
waiting.
teammate. A current
Yeah,
teammate. I don't have that quote in front of me, but he was basically like the dude got paid and doesn't care anymore.
I'm gonna
You
look
know,
for it.
and it's weird to me. Like Kyler Murray's playing the wrong sport if that's the way he is. He could have went and played baseball, had his contract guaranteed, and then just bagged it in if that's what he wants to do. Instead, you come to the NFL where you have to earn your contract, and he's probably going to make a quarter what he could have made in baseball. And then to do this, like you didn't think if you wanted to bag it in after making your money, you picked the wrong sport. I mean, he's still making a lot more than I'm ever going to see in my lifetime. So good for him. But he could have made more than that and still had it easier.
So when I Google and I throw in thrown under the bus, all it states are all the stories from 2022
Right.
when Kyler was throwing his own teammates under the
All right.
bus.
Well,
So
this is going to be the last selection of our draft because we're already at 57 minutes, and this has been a very fun exercise. This has gone exactly how I had hoped, and we're going to do this again. Okay. I think this is great. One round. We could even simulate different rounds, or we can continue this. I think this has been fun. If you're listening at home, comment, let us know in the YouTube comments how you feel about how we selected and where you think guys should have went. Now, I'm still on the board, and I'm just going to go with Dak Prescott. All right, I'm going to finish the homer in me. I wanted to go with Deshaun Watson, but I'm concerned. If I continued, I'd probably go Deshaun Watson too. So when I was talking earlier, when I was picking Lamar, I know what I do at the end of the draft. At pick 12, I like to get both my quarterbacks because then guys that don't have quarterbacks yet, they're going to start panicking, which might push a player down to me. And I also don't have to worry about it, and I can get value in the later rounds. So I probably would go Deshaun Watson right after Dak Prescott. What I was hoping to do was to go Trevor Lawrence and Dak Prescott, one ascending player and one possible descending player, but two guys that I feel like I'd be very confident starting on a week-to-week basis. So if I would have hit Dak Prescott and Trevor Lawrence at the end of the first round, I would have called it a home run. But regardless, I call this exercise a home run. Justin, what do you think?
yeah, I love it, and it was setting up nicely for me in the second round too because I was debating between Trevor Lawrence and Jonathan Taylor there. Actually, you stated being a homer. That's a homer move.
Yeah.
Probably in a super flex should not take your running back quite that early with what's still left on the board, but it's also not a bad spot to
But
take
if you're there's also a win now strategy.
Yeah,
You're investing money in a league.
right.
If you are somebody who's highly invested mentally in your league, you can wheel and deal. You can make moves. You can make things happen. You can recuperate after, investing early in certain players. You just got to be active. You got to use your picks. And there is a situation where going all in now is okay if you get your money back and then some.
Hey, real quick, Uncle Steve did text me. He brought up a fair point. In our league, we have what we call a Champions League, and if you've won the championship or got first place in the regular season, then you get put into the Champions League. Once 8 people are in that, then there's money set aside each season. that goes into a big pot for the Champions League. I'm going to order a belt, a championship belt for it, and everything, and
Right.
probably from Trophy Smack. Hashtag not a sponsor, but
Hashtag not a spot.
but
That's not a thing.
it is right now.
Okay, fair. It's a
uh,
new thing.
hashtag soon to be a sponsor. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But anyhow,
Maybe. Hashtag
that
maybe.
that league goes by the exact same rules as our home league. Only there's only 8 teams in there. So he wanted there to be super flex just for that reason, because he finally slid into the Champions League this year as our last entry into the Champions League, and he wants that advantage, knowing that most people in our home league don't play.
Man, you can't, like, I didn't think about that. You
I,
can't you
I,
can't
I,
change a league to super flex.
I, what? What do you mean?
If it is it redraft or dynasty?
It's redraft.
Okay, sorry, I'm wrong. I thought I had a brain fart. If it's already dynasty,
Yeah, no,
I don't think it's okay to change it to super flex, but it's redraft,
no,
fine. That's fine.
it's
Because you
redraft.
said
No,
advantage, so I started to think
right,
maybe he already had like his roster and you can't,
right.
but if it's starting from scratch, it's completely fair.
So we're going to be having 2 drafts going on at the exact same time. Our normal typical league that has 12 in it, and then 8 of those 12 will be over here on this other draft board drafting the 8-team league.
I need to get in this league, man. I know I can't.
I'm
starting to like redraft.
You got to drive out here to Indiana to join the draft.
I'll fly. I am starting to like redraft more than dynasty.
I've been trying to tell you for years, dude.
Dude, I'm because with the toilets of titles and we got to go. We got head to head up next. But I am like dynasty. I used to be but like with everything we're doing with toilets of titles, and I kind of like the year-to-year thing a little bit, man. I'm starting to turn a little bit on dynasty. But anyway, stick with us. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have 5 people in here right now. We appreciate everybody who stayed with us the whole show. Uncle Steve, George Reed, Rich, Moon was in here for a little bit. Campy, Nino, the usual suspects. D now. We appreciate every one of you. Thank you. Keep coming back. Subscribe. Help us get to 1,000. That'll help us reach our milestone, man. We've been trying to get there. Justin, it has been a pleasure having you back, and I loved that exercise. We will continue to do that. And good luck to your Colts. Good luck to my Cowboys. Good luck to you all out there. We will see you all later on. Take care.